be on next, you'll never know. Just let it flow, love. This for my queens with a greater purpose. Goes deeper than what's on the surface. Driven, ambitious, so much class. To get a break, you might need a hard pass. Speaking on every topic, from relationships to parenting tips, family issues and politics. Healthy convo can stimulate your conscience. Can be replaced with the reality nonsense. Don't need to be a diamond, shine like a diamond. Got the answer to your questions. Only the king can be humble and take heed to his woman's perspective. Advice for the ages. She'd rather be honest than tell you lies. Entrepreneurs still killing them with a vibe. Mom first, but they don't take away from the crime. Either on the couch, grab your wine and give us some of your time. Hey, I'm just chatting with China. Come and talk it out, it's good for your soul. Sit back, relax, get comfortable. What we on next, you'll never know. Just let it flow, love.
So we are back on the couch. To my Instagram family, I know I missed y'all these last 2 episodes, but I promise by the end of next week, I will have both episodes uploaded to my Instagram account. Listen, technology is one of those things that we love, but we hate, but we need in today's time. But listen, y'all, we are on the couch again. We are close to wrapping up our community episode. Tonight is going to be a treat for y'all because y'all actually get to hear from the people that are in the field when we talk about community, when we talk about police. Yeah, we did talk to Grady. Shout out to him. Shout out to those that didn't like the interview. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell y'all. But we actually get to hear from someone who was in the field every day risking their lives. But before I get into it and give y'all too much, let me give y'all the proper introduction to Chat with China. I am your host, Marshina Latrice, and thank you for joining me tonight. If you don't know, let me tell you exactly who I am. I'm a mommy, a life coach, a youth mentor, a ghostwriter, a published author, and might I add you, the 2024 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Okay? Just letting y'all know that's who I am. All right. Let me get my shout outs. I have yet to fail her, so just for that person who is watching, I shout out my baby Biscuit. Well, first of all, she told me I can't even call her Biscuit no more. She wants to be called Malia. So shout out to my heartbeat, Malia. I'm so proud of you. She is almost completing her 2nd week of high school, dual enrolled student. And I'm going to say that until I get tired of saying it. But yes, my baby is a dual enrolled Harrison Dreadnought. So shout out to you. I love you super, super much. And to the end of the moon today. All right. Lovely looks. Y'all, listen, let me tell y'all something. Y'all know how they say you shouldn't just teach the man you shouldn't bring him the fish, you gotta teach him how to fish. So listen, Ashley taught me how to do my makeup for when she's not available. And I FaceTimed her and she told me I was looking good. So if y'all disagree, y'all let me know. But shout out to my best friend, Lovely Looks. Listen, y'all, Christmas pictures are coming up, Thanksgiving, family pictures, all of that. Book the look and book Lovely Looks. Shout out to my bestie. Let me tell y'all, I got a wig for the first time ever. I'm almost afraid to go to sleep because I'm like, Lord, is it going to fall off in my sleep? But I got a wig today for the first time, y'all. So shout out to my stylist, Shani Slaves. I love you. Thank you for getting this unit on me. I think we look good. I think it's a hit. Listen, my nails are not done. Will somebody please tell my stylist and my nail tech that I need to see her? I need to get in. But I do have a nail tech. Y'all know I got a whole glam squad. But listen, also book my girl, Leslie, Queen of Divine Nails. She is available for house calls as well. TNT Security. He is going to be in the building with me next week because I am closing out the community chat with a bang. I ain't going to give y'all too much. Y'all will find out on Sunday. But just know, on Sunday, next week, Wednesday, I'm closing the community out with a bang. Neil Lee Photography. I've said this so many times and I got to keep saying it. For those of you that take your business seriously, you need to book with him and get professional headshots done. Not a selfie when y'all are trying to do business cards and all this other stuff. So book Neil Lee Photography and tell him I sent y'all. But he gonna give you no discount. Just tell him I sent y'all, okay? This, that, and the other podcast, I have added them to my official shout out. Listen, I got a group chat with them. We talk almost every day. I just want to say that I love you guys so much. I'm so proud of everything that you guys are doing, and including me on the ride, and just everything that y'all do for me and that we're working on together. So shout out to this, that, and the other. They are actually live tomorrow, so make sure y'all check them out. All right, y'all know my favorite shout out, which is almost my last shout out, and I'm gonna forever promote them this way. I am never telling y'all to kill y'all people. But when they die, call Reggie Cannon at Cannon Funeral Home. I don't care what time it is, he is going to answer. I promise you, he's going to answer. And he will take care of you because service is priority at Cannon Funeral Home. Okay? Make sure y'all send him I said that. All right, y'all. So listen. We have been talking about community. We started out with Sheriff Grady Judd. I'm forever grateful for him for allowing me the opportunity to sit with him, to kick off the community, to talk about the things that you guys in the community or us in the community want to talk about with our sheriff and with our local PD. Next, we followed up with the community, with the kids, because we are, as parents, and I am one of those. I feel like we're failing our kids sometimes. So we had to talk about the kids. And Chris also gave me the okay to say, where the kids at? Because so many times you guys are having events and you're not including the kids. So shout out to Chris for bringing in, listen, if you did not catch that episode, it is on my YouTube channel. It is also on the Facebook page. You guys gotta go watch that, especially if you're parents and you take being a parent seriously. Go watch that episode. I'm gonna drop some reels for it this week. Any community service events coming up? Yes, Strive for a Cause is coming up. I need to announce that. The 10-year anniversary of Strive for a Cause is October the 6th. So that is a community event that you need to be in the building for. Okay. I think that was it. Tonight we are talking to a retired police officer, meaning this is someone who gave his life every day and made it out. Do you guys know how many officers we lose a year on the job? So I am very, very, very excited to have him. I'm honored that he took the time to be here with me tonight because he retired, y'all. So he can be on his couch with his feet up, but he is here tonight with me. And we're going to talk about the life of a police officer. And before he comes, I just want to say this. There were so many people say they don't like the police, they dislike the police, whatever. When something happens, 911 is the first number y'all call, right? So I want y'all to give more respect to the police because not all police officers are the same. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest, a retired police officer, Mr. Carlos Roman Sr. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here, Gina.
So, as you heard, I gave my long spiel
Yes,
a shout out. So you guys, it's custom when you get on the couch, you guys give a shout out.
I shout out to my wife who has put up with me for 43 years.
People don't stay married that long no more.
43 years and dealt with 34 years of that being a police officer.
Being a police officer?
Yeah, so that was tough.
Aww.
That was tough.
Well, shout out to his wife. And listen, you guys got to come back and tell us the secret of how you guys stayed married so long. That's what we need to talk about. So, as you know, we're talking about you being a retired police officer, but we're going to go back. So let's get started and talk to us about your journey through becoming a police officer.
I graduated from the New York City Police Academy.
Oh, you're a real police officer.
In 1981.
Okay.
I worked at NYPD from 81 to 91.
Okay.
Then I came here to Florida, where I worked for 3 years with the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And Grady was Colonel Judd back then when I got hired. So from 91 to 94, I worked there, and then from 94 to 2015 with the Auburndale Police Department.
Okay, so, but wait, you came from New York, so you are a real police officer.
Oh, the guys who are real police officers.
I'm not saying that no one else is, not a real police, but it's just like the crime of,
yeah.
Okay, we're not going to get too much in that. Okay, so my first question to you, how do you address concerns about racism and discrimination within law enforcement? Oh, and he brought notes. I love when my guests come prepared.
Yeah, because some of the questions that you have were questions that we had in a lot of the community events in Auburndale.
Okay.
That, I was one of the privileged individuals to go there and talk with the community.
Okay.
So a lot of this stuff I already had.
You already had?
Yes, ma'am.
He was prepared. I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that question, so many people have a negative outlook on law enforcement. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's you can't really blame a lot of people because of the stigma of that the media a lot of times and police officers who, quite frankly, should never have been police officers are police officers. And I'll give you an example, and this is something that you're going to touch on, Miss Massey's.
Yes.
Miss Massey's murder.
And that exactly what that was. It was a
Deputy
murder.
Grayson had been in 5 agencies in 3 years.
And that
and they hired him. He had official misconduct in the military before he even got
That's how he got out of the military.
They kicked him out, and he got 5 jobs with 5 different agencies. So the hiring practices, they need to be better. They need to be much better because you get these individuals who shouldn't be police officers, and they go out into the field and they abuse their authority. And that stigma is what makes the job difficult. As a supervisor or as a police officer, fortunately, I've never had to deal with that because I never had any of my officers had a complaint filed against them.
You know, Grady said that too, and I just feel like it rolls downhill. Like the leadership sets the example. I mean, of course, sometimes you are going to have those rogue officers, but
Yes.
the leadership sets the example, and you guys follow those that are under you follow suit.
Correct.
So I just want to
Correct.
make sure that it's clear. So you feel
Starts
that
at the
it's
top.
fair for the community to have the outlook that they do have on
Mhm.
police officers at times.
Absolutely, I agree.
You guys heard it from an actual officer himself to
Agreed.
say that we should feel that way. And there are a lot of officers that shouldn't be officers.
Oh, there are. I mean, it was getting better, but now with a lot of the defunding the police and a lot of the real good police officers leaving the agencies, what the agencies are being forced to do now to get bodies out there is to lower the standards. The moment you lower the standards because it's an
you just let
emergency,
anybody in.
you're letting people who really shouldn't be police officers now
Okay.
wear a badge and a gun. So unfortunately, it's going to get worse before it gets
It's
better.
better. So let me ask you a question because that wasn't on there, but since you mentioned it, how do you feel about defunding the police? Because I feel like that's the problem that you're going to have now when you just lower the standard. But then
Exactly.
these are people, which ties into our next question. These are people that go and put their lives on the line every day. You put that uniform on and not knowing if you're
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
come home that day.
I am
But y'all wanna
totally
defund
against.
them.
I am totally against defunding the police. And if you go out and I've done this in my career, we've gone to minority neighborhoods and we've had chats. We had coffee with police officers where we'd go to the local coffee shop and people would be invited to go and talk
To the
the police. Actually talk with us one-on-one. And I have never heard a Hispanic person, a black person, or any other minority ever say we don't want the police here. Never, ever have I heard that. And if you were to go to all the leadership of all of these communities, I guarantee you they're against. They want the police in their neighborhoods. It's
So
not the
who
way
do you think
people
the ones that are wanting to defund the police?
It's the media and the people who are trying to divide us.
To divide. God don't operate in division. I just need y'all to know that.
Yeah, you can't run a country if you can't control its population.
It's population.
So how do you control 350 million people? Divide and conquer. That's why you always hear all of this, all of these negative things about one race, Hispanics, blacks, Chinese, this. You hear about all that. It's meant to divide. That's what it's meant to do. And unfortunately, we are a good target because and when I say we, let me put this into perspective. There are 800,000 police officers roughly in the United States.
Okay.
There are 350 million people. Okay? We serviced 858,000 calls for service in 2023. Of those,
He coming with the statistic. I told y'all he was ready.
of those over 800,000 contacts, there were 1,275 fatalities. 58,000 contacts were as a result of or resulted in use of force.
Use of force.
58,000 out of over 800,000, okay? And out of those 58,000 where use of force had to be used, 1,275 people in 2023 were killed by police officers. That is, I know people hate to hear this, but that is less than 1%. Less than 1% of the number of contacts result in fatality. And to put it exact, it's 0.000022. That's the percentage of fatalities.
Well, let's just take it a little further. When you say people are going to hate to hear that, well, they're going to hate to hear this. If people just abide by the rules and do what they're supposed to do, then we would be okay. And that's what that's what I want to get into next. you put on that uniform for 34 years.
Mm-hmm.
In all of those years, there were some days you didn't know. It could have been every day out of those 34 years, which is what I really want people to understand. You left your house every day for 34 years with the uncertainty that you were going to return back home.
Exactly. And my wife knew that, and she lived through that.
And that's a whole nother story. So it's like when people say, oh, the police are out here to kill us when you call them. And I love Lydia, but she made this comment. We don't like to call them because when you call them, they show up just to kill us. That's not true.
No.
This police officer walked out of his house today not even knowing if he was going to return home because somebody baby daddy was beating on her and he went to go save her and he ended up getting killed. Like, you guys risk your life. So when you hear people say they hate the police or the police, that we don't fuck with the police, that's what they say. How does that make you feel as somebody that put on a uniform to go protect and serve, that genuinely went out to protect and serve?
Yeah, that really troubled me in the beginning, especially. I didn't expect that when I went out to the community. I always treated, and anybody that knows me, law enforcement, anybody of the family, my close friends, acquaintances, know that I was firm, but I was fair. I treated every single person the way I would have wanted to be treated if a police officer stopped me. Not everybody that I stopped, I issued tickets to. Not everybody that I came up to and found cannabis on them or little minor things on went to jail with me. Even the DUI, depending on what the situation was. Not everybody went to jail with me. That's officer discretion, and I utilized that. But you know, I had people tell me right to my face that they hated me, that I'm nothing but a racist pig, and I said, listen, I understand it's because I'm wearing this uniform, but I don't even know you enough to hate you. So how is it that you can say that to me?
They take it personal. Yeah. And I just made this status the other day. When is accountability going to be the trending word? Because we wouldn't be in this situation if they learned to take accountability, right?
Yep, accountability.
Listen, a good friend of mine, Donald Lewis, shout out to the therapist, Dr. Donald Lewis, said his life changed when he started taking accountability for his own actions. Mm-hmm. So many people would not be in the situations that they were in if they started taking accountability for their own actions. Like, how can you use your experience in the police force to advocate for accountability to address the issues of the brutal injustice and from the police department?
Well, I can do what I'm doing here is share my experiences. That's one thing. Go to these communities where they have these meetings, like I did when I was working.
We're working on that.
And share what we're doing here today in this podcast. Other podcasts that may come up where it may be something on police brutality or just police communications in general, and share that, mentoring and educating the younger officers. There are so many officers that I was their first field training officer in Auburndale.
And you left an impact.
And one of them right now is the deputy chief, Marvin Tarver of Lakeland PD.
Shout out to Marvin Tarver.
Yep. Captain Michael Lewis.
Okay.
I was his FTO as well. Lieutenant, I mean, there's so many of these guys. Brian Wallace is a lieutenant at Lakeland.
Shout out to those.
The deputy chief in Davenport, Donald King.
Okay.
All of these guys, we're all under me, and now these guys are out there. You know, so I just say to myself, I must have done a decent job.
Listen, I look at my daughter sometimes and I'm like, and all of the things that I fucked up in life, she's the one thing I did right.
Yeah, the one good thing.
Yeah, she's the one thing that I did right. So.
But that's important, mentoring and of course passing on the experience to the younger officers.
Okay.
Talking to the community, doing these type of things, podcasts.
It's crazy because we're actually working on something like that where we want to sit down with the community in an open forum and have some law enforcement officers to be able to have those discussions, because there is a disconnect there, and it's just like myself, the Chat with China, and the members of this, that, and the other. We have a voice, so we need to definitely utilize it to bridge this gap.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna ask you something, because you know it's always, not always, but majority of the time it's the blacks, the minorities that say the police don't like them. Do you consider yourself to be a minority?
Absolutely. I'm Puerto Rican. I was born in Puerto Rico. I was in Brooklyn when I was 6
He
months
a
old.
real cop, y'all.
I was 6 months old when my mom and dad moved. My father was a longshoreman, so we were in
Okay.
Brooklyn at 6 months, and I was there till I was 31.
Okay.
And then I came here, and I'm 65, so
And
I've been here 30.
You're 69?
I've been here longer than I
Then where
lived
you
in
from?
Brooklyn. 31 years there, 34 years here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you?
So I consider myself
You
a
consider
minority.
yourself
Yes,
a-
absolutely.
So do you feel like they target just the minorities, or do you feel like it's across the board, just fairness with everybody?
And everybody that I have worked in, every agency that I've worked with, has been an equal opportunity for the criminal.
There
I
you
mean,
have it.
I didn't care if you were black, you were white, if you were Hispanic. It didn't matter to me. If you were respectful, then I'm gonna treat you with respect.
With respect.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I just feel like listen, everybody needs to go back and just take in that word accountability. You got pulled over. If you were speeding, take accountability for the fact that you were speeding. You got pulled over. You had weed in the car. Take accountability that you had the weed in the car and it's illegal. Well, I'm not gonna say it's illegal, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But you know, you had it in the
It
car.
was.
Yeah, it was. So take accountability that you had the weed in the car and you know that you're not supposed to have it in the car. You get pulled over with an unregistered firearm, or you get pulled over and you're not supposed to have this gun, or just take accountability. I just feel like so many times we put this on the police when really it's us, it's the people. Like, you know, I'll give y'all a story one day of my encounter with a state trooper. Actually, I was on my way to work in Tampa and I was late. I was running late, so I was speeding just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. So I had my music blaring, I had my windows up, but I was just trying to get to work, get to where I was going. And I noticed it's crazy because I didn't even realize that it was the state trooper. I just saw like every time I would get into one lane, this car behind me would get into one lane. Like I didn't really pay attention. So I got into the far left lane and the car got behind me. I was like, who the hell is following me early in the morning? Then the lights came on. I was like, oh shit, it's the police. So the lady, she pulled me over. She was like, do you know why I pulled you over? I was like, honestly, I don't know why. I was like, yeah, I was in and out of traffic, but I wasn't driving recklessly, so I'm not sure why. She was like, you were speeding. I was like, oh, I am running late to work, so okay. So, but she had an attitude, and I was like, okay. So I gave her my information. She came back to my car and gave me a ticket. She was like, and just for you, I'm going to be late to work now. I'm going to be late to a court here or something she was going to Tampa for. And I was like, well, lady, you pulled me over. You talking about I made you late. Like, but I was still like, you know what? Okay, lady, I was speeding. You're going to give me the ticket. I'll pay the ticket. I took accountability for it. There was no need for me to be all hostile. I only got an attitude with her because she was like, I'm making her late. You pulled me over. You could have let me go where I was going. But
Right.
it still was just the accountability part. Like, that could have been a way worse situation, or it played out just the way that it was supposed to, because I took accountability for it. And it had nothing to do with me being black, white, woman, nothing. It had to do with the fact that I was speeding.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability.
You get stopped on a simple traffic stop. And let's say you're one of these individuals who have this stigma about the police officer being racist or whatever it is. And it's just a simple thing. You have a tail light out, tag light out, you made a turn, no signals, whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Now the police officer stops you, walks up to you, tells you what's going on, license and registration, and the first words out of your mouth is, you stopped me because I'm black. Or you stopped me because
I didn't even know you was black.
or you stopped me because I'm Hispanic. And no, sir, I stopped you because, again, this is what you did. Could I see your driver's license and registration proof of insurance? They give it to me. I either choose to write them a ticket, give them a warning, and say, hey, you know, be a little more careful, this, that, and the other, and off you go. But now you change that scenario, and now you start saying, oh, you stopped me because I'm black or Hispanic or what have you. I'm not giving you my information. Sir, please, give me the information. If you don't provide your driver's license, that is a misdemeanor. You have to be able to give me this so I can give you the citation. So I can arrest you for failure to comply. I'm not giving it to you. Okay, I open the door, you need to get out. I'm not getting out. They grab the steering wheel, they hold on to it. Now this is an actual scene. This is an actual story that I'm giving you. They grab onto the steering wheel, the backup officer arrives, this person's trying to be pulled out of the car, backup officer comes in, he starts pushing from the other side, getting him out. This individual bent his steering wheel.
Oh my gosh.
Ended up being arrested, ended up being charged with resisting for a tag light being out. Why did
All
he not
of
just
that,
give
give
me
you
the
the
license,
license.
give me the registration?
And you probably didn't even give him a
I
ticket.
wasn't. I was gonna run his name to make sure the guy didn't have a warrant,
And that was it.
and off he was gonna go. Off he was gonna go.
So
Simple.
that simple scenario. You put your life on the line.
Yeah, because he could have had anything in the car. I don't know. Could have had a knife. Could
But
have
you
had a gun.
see why I say, shout out to my brother. Hi, William. Thank you for tuning in. But you see why I say it. They hate you guys as police officers. But look at how something so simple as a tag light would have almost cost you your life.
Yep. What if he went for his center console? What if he suddenly went to that? I have a backup officer on the driver's side. He's got his gun out, and this guy makes a sudden reach and comes up with something, with a gun, or comes up with a knife, comes up with a hammer, comes up with a crowbar, what have you. Now he loses his life for what?
Or I was
For
gonna say, but then what if it could have spent either way? What if he would have shot one of you guys?
Exactly.
Then it's like you lost your life over a tag
I
light.
want to go home to my family. I want to go home to my family.
And if you don't know what that means, let me tell you what that means. He's gonna go home to his family. That's exactly what that. But it's crazy that that's why it just bothers me so much that people don't have respect for the police, because look at that simple thing. You were easily just gonna send him on his way.
That's it. He wasn't even gonna get a ticket. He wasn't, and he ended up getting arrested and had 3 charges on him for what? Because whatever his stigma, whatever his problem was with law enforcement or authority, I don't know what it was, but he turned that into a very negative and possibility of being something a lot worse. So when you think of all of these people who have been shot, I'm not saying that every single incident there isn't a rogue police officer, because I know there are rogue police officers.
We're going to talk about it.
I know that for a fact. But if you start defunding, you start tying the hands of the city administrators, they will lower the standards or the requirements, and then they're going to have people that are going to be police officers who have no business being a police officer. And now it's going to be worse.
Then they're really going to hate the police.
It's going to compound the problem. It's only going to make it worse. It's going to make it worse.
So let's talk about, since we're on the topic of minorities, and you say that you are a minority.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that the punishments always match the crime when it comes to minorities, and is that aligned across the board with those who are not minorities?
It's getting better, but there's still that stigma where, this guy's got this amount of crimes and he's a black male. This guy has this amount of crimes, he's a Hispanic. So no, I want to teach him a lesson. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to sentence him to a little bit more. Or I had this actually happen. I backed up a police officer at 5th and 59th, where FAO Schwartz with the tree lighting.
Oh, yes.
So I backed him up, and he pulled over I think he was from Ecuador, if I'm not mistaken. He pulled this individual over, and the guy didn't understand English, so he's trying to communicate, and he kept saying to the guy, "What are you, stupid?" And I could hear him as I get out of my car and walk up to him. I could hear him saying, "What are you, stupid?" And when I got up to the guy, and he kept talking, I said, "Oh, he's talking Spanish." So I start talking Spanish to the guy. He says, "I don't understand." He's telling me in Spanish, "I don't understand." And the guy says, "Oh, just stay here with him right now. I'm going to go back there and write him some prescriptions," is what he said to me. He went back there, he started writing tickets. And he was back there like almost 10 minutes. And I went back, I said, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to teach him a lesson." I said, "A lesson for what?" So he said, "Oh, he's talking all this craziness to me. He's in the United States of America. He should speak English." And I said, wow, this guy just got here.
If you've never, listen, if you've never traveled outside of the country, you will not understand how much of an ignorant statement that is. We went to Paris. I've gone to Jamaica. I've gone to Mexico. Not understood anything. Do you think those people treated me differently? No, they had patience to teach me. I do my own little research to kind of just to navigate myself, but that is for him to say, "I'm going to teach him a lesson."
Teach him a lesson.
Not everyone.
He must have wrote the guy like eight 8 tickets, like 8 different tickets. Ball tires. I've never even seen anybody write that.
Oh my.
Unsafe equipment. I mean, the original stop, which I think it was that he went on the sidewalk or something, and he just kind of popped the curb, is why he stopped him. So he thought the guy might have been intoxicated. Right. So he went to try to do that, and then the guy was telling him in Spanish. He didn't understand. So then, and writing the ticket, you know, that's the officer's discretion. I can't tell him don't write him tickets, you know, or tell his supervisor, hey, he wrote too many tickets. You can't do that. You can't do that. But when he said the following, I said, oh, no, this ain't right. He says, effing Mexicans, they're all the same. The guy was from Ecuador. He wasn't even a Mexican, but to this officer, he kind of grouped them into this one, everybody's a Mexican, you know, and said, you know, they all the same. So I told the guy, I said, so-and-so, you better tell your supervisor what you just did. If you don't tell him, I'm gonna tell him. He didn't tell him.
Have good officers that are that come to work every day that genuinely just want to do their job. You have officers that back up the citizens themselves.
Yep, he didn't.
But here we are in a community of people saying that we don't like the police. The police are not for us. Like, we just.
There's a small percentage, but I'm here to tell you, the majority of the police, and I'm saying the majority, I mean 99%, 99 point something percent, are all out there to do a good job.
Good job.
They all do the same thing. There is anybody that asks you what is the #1 job of a police officer, and here it is. This is what it is. To get home safe. That is it.
That's it.
It isn't anything else above that. That's second.
Okay.
Because if I can't get home safe, that means I didn't do my job, so therefore I couldn't protect anybody.
Or serve his community.
Exactly. Because I didn't get to go home, because I did something that caused my death or my serious injury or what have you. So that's the #1 thing. Get home safe. That's the #1 thing. And then, of course, to serve and to protect. And if, like I said, if you don't get home safe, then you weren't able to serve and protect.
Why do you feel some people that shouldn't be police officers become police officers?
I think a lot of it has to do with the hiring practices of the agencies.
Okay.
The fact that they're now, especially the fact that they're understaffed.
Okay.
But back in the day, it was, and when I say back in the day, I'm talking probably, I started in '81. I'm talking maybe the '70s and '80s, through part of the '80s where I was already in. There's a good old boy mentality.
Tell us about what is a good old boy, because I keep hearing it. What is a good old boy? The good old boy,
you know, they knew each other. They hang out together. They go drinking together.
Okay.
They go partying together to their homes and all that. So they can do no wrong. So if something goes on in the street and it's something that they should approach and take care of right there, they'll turn a blind eye. They'll turn away from it because that's their boy.
So a good old boy has nothing to do with race, or does it?
No, because it could be black, it could be Hispanic, it could be anything. I'll give you an example of that. You heard the name Tyree, right? I mean Tyree. What is Tyree's last name? I apologize.
No, you're fine.
I apologize for not getting his name right. Tyree Nichols. No. Have you ever heard that name?
No.
Have you ever heard the name?
Wait, come this way so we can make sure you're in the camera.
Have you ever heard the name Michael Brown?
That's the guy that got killed. Yes.
George Floyd?
Yes.
Okay. Tyree Nichols happened January of 23. The other ones were in 14 and 2020.
Right.
Why do we still hear about that, but we don't hear anything about Tyree Nichols?
I've never even heard that name.
Exactly. This is going to be my point. The media. It did not fit their agenda. Why? Because George Floyd, there were white police officers involved that had a direct impact on him dying.
On him dying.
The Michael Brown,
white police officer.
It was a white police officer.
Okay.
Tyree Nichols got beaten to death on a traffic stop by five Tennessee police officers that were all black males. The media covered it for about 3 days, and you never heard anything about it. This happened in 2023, January of 2023.
Recently. And I didn't even know about this name.
Tyree Nichols, look it up. It was a Scorpion Squad, undercover officers, and they were good old boys.
So good old boys.
They were tight. They hung out together. They did everything together, and they were in this unit that used to go out and try to find crime in action and do whatever they had to do. Well, they stopped him. He decided, I'm going to try to run because these guys are starting to get rough with me. He tried to run towards his mom's house. They chased him down, and they literally beat him to death. He died 3 days later in the hospital. But it didn't meet the agenda of the media trying to divide everybody.
The media is horrible for us.
Oh, absolutely. They're not only your worst enemy, they're my worst enemy. They're my worst enemy. Because all that does is make my community say, oh man, they're going to do that to us too. You know, they're going to do that to us. So now when the police officer comes, the stigma is, you know, these guys are racist. I'm not going to have a positive interaction with any police officer because look at what the media just said these guys did. Look at what they just said they did. And they also do a good job in dividing. You look at the blogs. If you want to look at the blogs for Lakeland PD, for the Polk County Sheriff's Office, I guarantee you that there are more or just as many white people arrested on any given day than there are blacks. But guess who's on the news? Guess who makes the news? Every time you see a criminal, it's a young black male or a black male. Why? Where are the 15 white guys that got arrested today? Why aren't they on the news? Why are they showing the black male? Why? Because they want people to say, you know what? They don't arrest white people. What the hell's going on here?
But great.
But they do. But they do. It's equal opportunity. If you're a criminal, I don't care. And like I said, 99% of the officers don't care what race, color, creed, religion you are. We're there. We took a solemn oath to protect the citizenry, to serve. And that's what we do.
That's what you do.
You go into a neighborhood, and this happened to me, and that person, I hate your guts, and someone that I told that to, and they looked at me when I said that. They thought that I was being funny. I wasn't being funny. And I said, listen, regardless how you feel about me, I took an oath to protect my community, and you happen to be one of the citizens of my community. You want to hate me, that's fine. I said, that's fine. And I just moved along. I couldn't
be a police officer.
I just moved along.
I couldn't be a police officer.
But it happens. I mean, it happens. And by the way, that officer didn't tell his supervisor.
Did
and
you tell him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't tell him, hey, he shouldn't have given him 10 tests. Man, he wrote this guy 8 citations. But what got me is that he said, damn Mexicans, they're all the same. And the guy was from Ecuador. This was in 83, I think 83, 84.
The ignorance of people is.
And here's the end of the story. Here's the end of the story. I went and I did that. They talked to the officer. And like a month later, I went from Midtown South to the 7-2 precinct in 4th Avenue, Brooklyn. I was transferred.
You were transferred
I was transferred. No explanation, no nothing.
So you feel like it was retaliation?
Absolutely, absolutely. He was somebody's friend.
Good old boy. He was a good old boy.
And they said, "Oh, this guy told on us, you know, rat, Sigma."
We gonna talk about the rats too.
Yeah.
The rats aren't just in
they gave me, and it was just that you know, that comment and what he did. And if he did it to this one guy,
he's doing it.
Lord have mercy, he's done it to every one of them. He's done it to everybody he stopped.
So. You were a police officer, and I asked Grady about this, and Grady actually gave some good points, whether you liked them or not. Okay, they were his points. How do you feel about body-worn cameras? Because
body-worn, as a police officer, I don't have a problem with them.
Okay.
Because I know who I am. I know the officer that I am. So I'm not going to go out there and abuse my authority and beat them. Right. So you know what? Put a camera on me. I don't care. I know that I'm going to do the job the way I'm supposed to do it.
Okay.
As a supervisor, I'm like, and as an administrator, I'm like, wow, this is super costly. In order to store all of this data, it has to be stored. You can't delete it.
You gotta store it.
So you have to store it. So you have to pay. The equipment is costly. The maintenance is costly.
To hire someone if you need
to take care of it, to be able to take it out, you have to fill out paperwork and a lot of things hoops you have to go through to obtain this
when you need it.
when you need it. And here are the other two things which to me are the worst. One, it's public information. Anybody
Ray
can
talks
request
about
it.
that. He talks about that. He said, when anyone can or not request it, but he said, let's just say we go to your house, there's a burglary, and your drawers are jumped out.
They're
Now
looking
there's
at everything
your
in your
underwear
drawer.
and everything.
Everything. It's public information. So now you have the second part of what I just said of the two worst things is your privacy is invaded. You have people looking at your home, seeing the way you live, seeing your personal items, and they have a right to them because it's public information.
It's public information.
But as far as for an officer to have it out in the street as an officer, have at it. Give me one, put it on me. I would have been fine with that. Because I'm secure in myself. I know who I am, what I am.
What you do.
So I know that I wasn't that type of a person. So that would never happen to me. I would never be caught abusing my authority, doing something like that. So I don't have a problem with them. But again, as an administrator, when you're thinking now of the money and the manpower and all that, very costly. And then the people are going to start with, why is their budget so big? Well, here, just for this camera right here, you got $3 million. Yeah, billions.
We already complain about the stuff that we take care of and we have to pay
millions
now.
of dollars.
And that's on the taxpayers. That's on us.
That's right. That's right. You and I are ones paying for that.
I'm going to just record from my cell phone for free. I'm going to just do that.
But like I said, as an officer, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that.
And many officers actually like it because if something does happen, they have the camera to back them up. So here goes yet another curveball. If you have this information, again, it's public information, what will the media do with it? And I'm going to tell you one that you may or may not remember. It shows the individual at the steering wheel of his car. It shows the female officer right at the door. The door was open. She's trying to pull him out of the car. He goes to put the car in drive, and she goes, I'm going to tase you, and she fires, but she has a gun and shoots him.
And she shoots him.
That's all they showed. That is all the media showed, okay? When you see the entire video on YouTube, it shows him as he's coming around the car. She's trying to grab him. He's punching. He's kicking them down to the ground. They get into the car. He's reaching for a weapon, which initially they found, subsequently they found a weapon in his car.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, they found the weapon in his car. But when she ended up shooting him, he drove a couple of blocks and he crashed. And they found him and he was dead. He was already dead. Clearly, she got charged because it was reckless what she did, where instead of reaching for the taser, which she thought she had, because in the video she clearly says, I'm gonna tase you, and then when she deploys it, she yells, taser. Oh yeah, but if you're in a life and death struggle, believe me, you get tunnel vision, and I mean you get tunnel vision.
And you remember
everything here becomes this small. It's this small. That's all you see. And you go and you reach, you don't feel weight, this is not my gun.
You're not even thinking about it because you're caught up in the moment.
You're caught up in the moment, and your first thought is, he's reaching, he's going to shoot me, let me pull this taser, and you pull it, and all of a sudden, she comes back, and in the video, she says, oh my God, I shot him.
She was caught up in the moment.
And she shot him. She got charged with manslaughter because it's causing the person's death reckless, by your reckless behavior. And the recklessness was the fact that she's a trained police officer, and she couldn't distinguish between a gun. So that's where she ended up getting charged with it. But the media took the video and just showed you what they wanted to show you. They didn't show you the whole thing.
So let's talk about what's the proper word for it? You gotta help me out here. Where they're not wanting to charge police anymore. Trump is really big on immunity.
Yeah.
They're granting immunity for police officers. How do you feel about that?
Immunity is good if they're giving you the immunity so long as you follow the standard operating procedures. That's what he's talking about.
That's what I wanted to hear.
He's not saying if you go out there and kill somebody, you should be immune to it. That's not what he said. What he said was you get immunity from prosecution if you follow your agency's SOP, which is standard operating procedure. If you deterred from any of that procedure,
then you don't get
you're on your own. you're on your own. The immunity is
But
gone.
you see how the media will just say,
Oh,
this,
yeah,
so
they'll
you
say
wanted
he
to
just
give
blanket
them
immunity.
That's not what
Blanket
he's saying.
immunity is what they're saying, and that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is clearly you get immunity if you followed your agency's standard operating procedure. And I say your agencies because every agency has a different operating procedure.
That is very true.
So that's what he said.
So
because I listened carefully because it had to do with something that had to do with my profession, right?
So that takes us into our next topic.
Mm-hmm.
You watched the video. I'm quite sure you did. I've watched Miss Massey's video a few times.
Yes.
From start to finish,
Mm-hmm.
what are your takes on that video?
Absolutely reckless behavior on the deputy's part. First of all, you're in that small area, and he was concerned, of course, with the pot. He says, "I don't want to fire, while we're all in here." And she goes out and goes to get this pot, and then she says, she claims something about God. She says to him, "Lord," what was it?
"I rebuke you.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," or something like that. That's all she said. She didn't say anything. And then he pulls his gun immediately and starts, with the profanity. And she says, okay, I'm sorry. And she ducks. Now, I don't know where his comment about what was I supposed to do? Look, the water came all the way to my feet. There's a counter between them. Granted, you don't know what's behind the counter. You don't know, what the motives were when she ducked down. Was she getting something? I totally understand that. But what about just retreat? What about back up as you still had the weapon on her? Should she come up with something, you're able to still fire, but retreat, come back, walk back and away.
So he did not follow the SOP.
My guess is, based on my training and experience, is that what's going to sink him, and they're going to lean more towards this, is his past. The fact that he had official misconduct in the military, he's been in 5 agencies in 3 years, there's the problem. So they're going to look at all of the reasons why he has all of these issues, so they're going to be able to read everything that it says, and they're going to base all of that information on what he was thinking with Miss Massey that night. And rightfully so, he's going to be charged. He's going to be charged.
You answered the question. I was going to say, do you agree or disagree that he needs to be charged?
Absolutely. When he pled not guilty, and that's a standard thing that they do, but I said, you're cooked. You're cooked. He's done. He is done.
Now that you are a retired officer, in that time, let's go back to that time, did you see a lot of misconduct within your area?
The officers that I was in charge?
Yeah.
Nope.
Why do you think there's so much more of it now? Is it because I think we kind of touched on it with the defunding of the police?
The standards have been lowered, so they have to put bodies out there. Because you remember that stat that I gave you that there's 800,000 police officers for 350 million people? You know that the ratio is 1 police officer to 425 people. So when you hear people say, "Oh, where's the cop when you need one?" He's probably helping one of those 425 people. So you're one of those 424 that he serves.
But they don't like the police, so that's the first time they call when something happens. When something happens,
but that's human nature. That's human nature. Do you remember the Seattle in 2020 when they took over the neighborhood?
No.
They took over an entire neighborhood, and they had all the police officers and everybody out of there. They only kept the people from that neighborhood. And they shot and killed the guy, somebody robbed the guy. They were doing all this kind of craziness. In Seattle? In the city of Seattle, Washington. During 2020. They called it the Summer of Love, I think. But they took over this entire neighborhood. And they didn't let any officers go in or out of that area. It's like insane, that they would go and do something like that in a neighborhood and not allow the police officers to come in. And then one of the people who were the masterminds of doing this whole thing was the guy who shot the one individual. So his family member found out and he came after him. So what do you think he did as he's running down the road? He took out his phone and dialed 911 and called the police to come and help him. And they could not get in.
You see what I mean?
They could not get in because they put cars, they put fencing, They literally blocked this whole neighborhood down. But he was the first one to dial 911 when they were chasing him.
I gotta go look the story up. You guys gotta go look
it up. It was in Seattle, the city of Seattle, and it was in 2020. They called it the Summer of Love. They had like a banner that said Summer of Love on it.
But they locked
down this entire neighborhood, and they would not allow police. They were calling for an ambulance to come and get the guy that got shot,
right.
And they couldn't. And by the time they got in, he died.
But you guys
look it up. Look it up. Seattle, Washington, 2020, Summer of Love. You guys will find it, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
So as we wrap up, is there anything that I missed? Because you came with your notes, and I want to make sure that we touch on everything.
Let's see. I know you had. You had something on.
I want to talk about the criminal informants. Wait, yes. Are criminal informants besties with the police?
No.
Are you sure?
No, they're not.
Then what are they? I'm gonna grab my wine for this one.
There are 3 types of criminal informants. You have
3
types. One of them is just the common, ordinary, law-abiding citizen.
Like me.
Like you. You would hear somebody talking about robbing a bank.
Okay.
You take their tag number as they pull away.
I'm about my business.
But if you do, you call the police and say, hey, here's this number, this tag number. They're talking about robbing the Wachovia Bank down the road. I don't know when. Now the detectives get it. They start doing their investigation. They tell the people on and on. You're an informant. You would be an informant because
I'm
you gave the information.
I'm a law-abiding citizen that's gonna mind my business.
The next one is a confidential police informant. That is one that has credible information about a past crime, a current crime, or a future crime, like the one scenario I gave you.
Okay.
They're going to rob something. Okay. They're going to do something. And they would give the information to the police officer. The police officer would investigate it. If it's credible, they register them as an informant.
Oh, like we're going in the database?
Yeah, they would actually be listed as an informant. Mm-hmm. And there are many reasons that people do this. One is for money, which they pay them. They take out money from a fund that they have on the side to pay criminal informants. The other reason could be fear. They've been threatened by this individual. They know this individual is selling dope, so now I'm going to rat him out to get him out away from here. Revenge. They got robbed by somebody or whatever, so now I'm going to get even with this guy. So now I'm going to go ahead and do something. So I'm going to go and rat this person.
But you said register, like my name will be in a database.
Yes, you would be actually listed. When you go to trial, we do not provide, when I say we, I mean the state. Okay. The state attorney. He does not give the information to the court.
I'm listening to Jane
until once you go into a trial. If it goes to trial, they have to identify you unless, by name, unless the judge deems it warrant not to do because of safety issues. If you can prove to the judge that, hey, if my CI's information comes up and it's made public, they're going to kill this guy. Like if it's gang-oriented, drug-oriented, cartel stuff, and they usually don't give that information up, and the judge will honor that and keep it sealed.
That is crazy.
But for the most part, you have to be able to identify that individual.
No! So they are like y'all besties. They giving y'all information.
The majority
it's a transaction.
The majority of them are criminals.
I know, but you guys are giving them money. Y'all are besties.
How else would we get the information if that's what they're offering, and we could take somebody off the streets that's causing deaths, that's selling drugs and causing deaths all in the neighborhood, or burglarizing somebody's home every other night. If we could get that person off the street, it's worth it to us to pay them. So we'll go ahead and pay them, providing that it's credible evidence. We don't just say, okay, here. We investigate it, we find out, and if we find it and we do it, we make an arrest, then they get paid.
Do we need criminal informants in the world?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because the majority of the people, especially in minority neighborhoods, will not talk to the police. They will go Inside, or if you come up and say, hey, your neighbor right here, you know who shot him? I don't talk to the police. They'll turn around and walk out. Now, turn the scenario around and it's one of their family members who just got shot. Why ain't you putting the guy away? Why haven't you made an arrest? Nobody will talk to me.
Y'all know I got to be a little controversial.
Yeah, nobody will talk to me. What do you mean nobody will talk to you? Are you asking? Yeah, I'm asking. Nobody will talk to me. That's how it goes down. That's how it goes. And then the third, here's the third informant.
Oh.
It's called a Perkins informant. And a Perkins informant is someone who is in prison or in jail. And you know the difference, the jails are the county, the prisons are the state. And that individual has already been a CI, but in this case, we want him to go into a cell with a certain individual that we want him to talk to see if he confesses to crimes that we're still investigating that he may have done. That happens a lot with serial killers, or somebody's in prison.
They just been confessing their whole life away, and
Yes.
I've seen that so often.
Yes. So we'll get this guy. We'll get with the warden, whoever, the warden or the sheriff in the county jails area. They'll take this individual, transfer him, put him in that cell with that individual. This guy becomes his bestie, confesses to crimes he's never committed, just to get him to confess to him. And then when he gets what he wants, while he's out and about, he'll get with a CO and say, hey, he said this. They pass that on to the state attorney.
And they get a lesser sentence. Because
a lot of times they plea bargain. A lot of times,
crazy to me,
a lot of times.
Because if you committed a murder,
no, you ain't gonna be a CI. You're not gonna be a CI.
Oh,
if you committed homicide or any violent crime, you're not gonna be a criminal.
Okay, I was gonna say.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about somebody who has even dealt drugs before, especially them, because if you're trying to get high-end drug people, those are the ones you're gonna need.
I was gonna
But
say
if you committed, rape, homicide,
you
something like violent felony, you cannot be a criminal informant.
Okay, and that's not one of the threes at all. So if I was just to report that somebody I heard them.
Well, your name will be redacted. They won't have your name if you gave information.
No, you said the first one. Like if I was just I call Grady tonight, be like, listen, I just heard that they're gonna rob this bank tonight. Mm-hmm. I'm now a CI.
No.
What am I?
No. You're just a citizen who is giving information.
I'm a
remember what I said. It has to be credible information. So when you give the information, you're just giving me.
Well, let's just say it happens. Like I just so happen to be on my way. I'm getting coffee in the morning, and I hear them talking
you just
about
did this one thing, and you did. No, you're not listed as a criminal informant. It would have to come from you. You would have to say, hey, you guys pay me. I can do this routinely for you.
Okay.
It's not that a citizen will give the information. I apologize if I gave that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I told you I was going to just mind.
Yeah, no. If I'm just a John Q. citizen and I say, hey, this, and the other, and I, give them my name, that's it. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm not put in the database as, hey, criminal informant Carlos Roman is.
Right. I don't want my name attached to none of that.
It is when you become a criminal informant, you go into a database that the agency.
It's a whole database out here.
The agency has it. The agencies have. Every agency in Polk County and all over the country have a CI database, a CI list where they have, okay, you want to know about drugs, and this is the guy to go to.
This is it.
But he already knows he's a CI. He's already asked to be
a CI.
To be listed as a credible CI.
I'm not going to risk my life. I'm going to mind
No. Yeah.
business.
Yeah, if you see something out there, let's say, and hey, that guy stabbed him. This guy looked like this, and they take the information down, they get a sketch. Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
You may get involved in like a lineup.
Position and all that other
stuff. Yeah, like
okay.
Did you see the guy in this, picture, or they show you the 6?
But I'm not in the database.
No,
okay.
Just because you give information as a citizen or a criminal, if you don't request to be, you're not going to be listed as a CI.
Because I just want to be a law-abiding citizen.
No.
You know, that's actually one of my favorite movies. Have you ever seen that movie?
That's a great movie.
I love that. I can watch
movie.
it. I might go watch it tonight. I might get on my couch
tonight and watch it.
I love that. If you haven't seen it, go watch Law Abiding Citizen. So I think we covered everything.
Yeah, that was the last.
That was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last.
I have to say thank you because you really took a risk coming and sit on here with me tonight and giving the secrets. I'm gonna drop some reels next week in regards to this episode. you've learned from the inside. Like, again, I want y'all, not just because he's sitting here. I have a cousin right now that is going through the academy. My favorite cousin ever. He is getting ready to be putting on his uniform every day. And I'll be damned if someone can just say, I hate the police. Because that, to me, when I hear that, y'all gonna be telling me y'all hate him. And he got my whole heart. Like, he just does. So it's put some respect on people like this that put on this uniform to protect and serve. Even though I know that that's number 2 on the list. But they're coming to protect and serve. Put some respect on them. Just you have to. So I have to say thank you for your 34 years of service.
That was my honor. That was my honor to do that.
I know that your family is more than overjoyed that you made it home every night.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to your wife, like you said, because you go out every day. I'm quite sure you guys had a routine. You probably kissed her on the forehead or whatever you did before you left. And in her mind, she's expecting you to walk through that door.
Times of phone calls.
Do you know how many wives? You know how many wives don't know, or they get that phone call in the middle of the day, and it's like you don't expect that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. So more than anything, if you guys don't take anything from this chat, put some respect on our police officers. Do that for me. I will see y'all on the couch next week. When I tell y'all I'm closing out next week with a bang, I got a big surprise for y'all for the community, the ending of the community chat. So I will see y'all next week. You got any lasting words for us?
No, I could answer any questions if they have any quick questions.
Shout out to my brother Carlos who put this together. Shout out to this, that, and the other. I love you guys. I'll see y'all next week. I think he's here.